Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing some of my favorite types of videos to film, and that is my next seasonal TBR, which is going to be for spring, obviously. Honestly, putting together my seasonal TBRs is one of my favorite activities. I wouldn't say I'm super great at reading them actually, but putting them together is always really fun because I love matching books to specific seasons. And I just feel like there are so many good books that I could potentially pick up in the season of spring. I feel like it is the perfect time for classics, historical fantasy, just magical, whimsical books. So I have like 10, I think, books that I'm going to be talking about today. So let's just get into it. I do have this sorted into a couple of different categories. So I have normal fantasy, historical fantasy, and then I do have a couple of contemporary type books that I'm hoping to read as well. I'm going to be starting out with my favorite category, which is obviously the historical fantasy section. So let's get into talking about those. So the first two books that I want to talk about are part of a series that I'm really hoping to finish this year, and that is the Lady Trent series by Marie Brennan. We have In the Labyrinth of Drakes, and then finally we have Within the Sanctuary of Wings. If you guys don't know, this is a series that is set in a fantasy version of like the Regency period, or maybe it's the Victorian period. I'm not exactly sure what like historical time period this is modeled after, but it's got all of the typical kind of trappings of a historical setting like that. And you're following our main character Isabella, who is a dragon naturalist, meaning she studies dragons. And that is so sick. Like, I really love this series so much. It's not one of my absolute favorite series. I think there are a lot of points where the books drag a bit, but the overall vibe of the series, it definitely delivers in a way that makes me want to continue the series and finish it up. As I said, I only have the 2 books left. I've really enjoyed the first 3. It's just such a fun time. So if you are looking for a book that is kind of along the lines of Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, but with dragons, you guys honestly need to check this series out because it is so fun. So I'm really hoping that I can finish it up in spring. I feel like this has like the perfect spring vibes. Next up we have The Magician's Daughter by H.G. Perry. I believe this is following our main character Biddy, who lives on an island off the coast of Ireland, maybe? It's a very magical island, and she lives there with her guardian Rowan, and one night Rowan goes missing, so this book is kind of following Biddy on her journey to figure out where the hell he went, basically. That is all I know about this book, but from what I've heard, this book is really charming, it's really magical and whimsical, and it just seems like the perfect kind of book to pick up right now. It also seems really cozy, which I could definitely get into. Then I have a book that I've seen so many people talking about recently and loving, so I had to check it out from the library because I just need to see what I think of it for myself, and that is A Fragile Enchantment by Alison Saft. Now, I read A Far Wilder Magic, which is also by Alison Saft, a couple of years ago, and I deeply did not care about anything that was happening in that book. So I've been a little bit hesitant to pick up anything else by Alison Saft, but the way that people have been talking about this book recently, I was like, man, I need to try it out, huh? So this is a historical fantasy that is following our main character Neve, who is a magical dressmaker, I believe. And she ends up getting commissioned to design the wardrobe for this royal wedding that is happening soon. So she's kind of embroiled in all of the goings on of the court. She also kind of grows closer to the groom throughout the course of this story. And I'm just so excited to see what this is like because it sounds like something that would be exactly up my alley. And apparently the main character has magic in her blood that lets her stitch emotions and memories into fabric. But that's also the same magic that will eventually kill her. Like, I'm so intrigued. It sounds so good. It seems like the perfect book to pick up during spring. I mean, just look at the cover. I can't wait. And then lastly, we have The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow, another one which I cannot wait to get to. Basically, after I finished The Starless Sea in December, as we all know, I absolutely love that book. It's one of my new favorites. I went on a mission to like find lists of books that are similar to The Starless Sea, and this is one of the only books that kept coming up repeatedly, so I was like, obviously I need to check this out. Also, last year I did read Starling House by Alex E. Harrow, and I really enjoyed that one as well, so it felt very fortuitous that this one kept coming up because I've been wanting to read more by Alex E. Harrow, and I wanted a book with like similar vibes to The Starless Sea, so I have no idea if that's what this is going to give me, but I'm very intrigued to see if I will be able to tell why people keep comparing this to The Starless Sea, so I really can't wait to get to this one. So I believe this book is following our main character January in a time period maybe inspired by like the early 1900s. I could be really wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure that's kind of like the general vibe that this book has. And she is living in this mansion, and one day in the library she finds this book that tells her some very interesting information. It says it is a book that carries the scent of other worlds and tells the tale of secret doors, of love, adventure, and danger. Each page turn reveals impossible truths about the world, and January discovers a story increasingly intertwined with her own. Okay. I see why it's compared to the Starless Sea just in like that little blurb. So I'm really interested to see how that is executed throughout this book because it sounds amazing. And I'm really hoping that this delivers on everything that it is promising me. So those are all of my historical fantasy picks that I'm hoping I can get to soon. And now we can move on into my next category, which is just kind of general fantasy. The first two that I want to talk about are the rest of the An Ember in the Ashes series. So I've said this so many times, but for Ribbons and Words this year, we are reading series, and the very first series that we decided to read together was the An Ember in the Ashes Quartet. So we've read the first two already. We do have live shows for them if you want to check those out. You could. But in March and April, we are going to be finishing up the series by reading A Reaper at the Gates and then finally A Sky Beyond the Storm. I think everybody has been really enjoying this series, and it's been so fun to talk to everybody about it, and I'm so glad that we decided to do this in kind of like a read-along style situation. But if you guys don't know, this is a Middle Eastern inspired young adult fantasy series, although honestly sometimes it reads a little bit more like new adult. Some of the things that are happening in the series, it's so brutal, honestly, but it's so well done. And this is following our two main characters, Laya and Elias, as they are kind of just traversing all of the awful things that are being thrown at them in this world. It's so interesting. There's so many good discussions that are surrounding the series, and I'm so excited to continue them. So if you want to join us on this little read-along journey, the Discord is always linked down below. It's free to join. You should check it out. Then I have one that I think is going to be so much fun, and I've been meaning to read this book for such a long time, and that is Kiki's Delivery Service by Aiko Kodono. Obviously, this is the book that the Ghibli movie was based on. I love Kiki's Delivery Service so much, as I'm sure so many people do. So when I found out that it was based on a book, I was like, well, obviously I need to read the book. And this book was so kindly sent to me by Eve, so thank you so much, Eve. But obviously this book is following our main character Kiki, who is a young witch, and she is leaving her home for the first time, doing all the witchy things. I'm just kind of gonna assume you know what Kiki's Delivery Service is about at this point. But I'm so excited to finally read the book. I feel like, again, this is going to be the perfect kind of book for like late spring, early summer. Really excited about it. And then I do actually have another kind of Ghibli style book, and this one I believe came after the movie, whereas that one inspired the movie, and that is My Neighbor Totoro, the novel. This just looks so freaking cute. I mean, look at the cover already. I'm so excited. But this one was actually sent to me by Cass, so shout out to you, Cass, for the book. This is basically, I think, just like a novelized version of the movie. I love My Neighbor Totoro so much. It was the very first Ghibli movie that I ever watched, and it's just so charming. So again, I just feel like this is going to be the perfect book, maybe like for April. It's kind of giving me April feelings right now. So we'll see if I actually pick it up in April. At any rate, I'm just hoping to pick it up soon. And then finally, in my little fantasy category, I have another new release, which I am so, I don't want to say I'm excited about it because I've looked at the Goodreads average rating for it. Probably not my best idea, but sometimes I just want to know. It's not great. It's really not great. But I decided I don't care, and I'm gonna check it out anyway. And that is The City of Stardust by Georgia Summers. This is another book that is compared to The Starless Sea and Strange the Dreamer, so again, I was just too intrigued to not pick it up, but I believe we're following a main character that has this familial curse on her, and I think maybe her mother disappears or something. Okay, yes, that is correct. And it says her hunt leads her into a seductive, magical underworld of power-hungry scholars, fickle gods, and monsters bent on revenge. Oh, is there a... Oh, I thought that said assassin. It said assistant. Never mind. So I definitely see the comparison to The Starless Sea already. Anything with that kind of general vibe to it, I'm probably going to enjoy. So I'm very excited to get to this one and just see what I think of it. So that concludes all of the fantasy books that I want to read in spring, but I do have a couple of more contemporary type novels that I'd like to get to as well. And this first one is a book that, like, if I do not read this book in spring, I don't even know what I'm gonna do, but I'm going to be severely disappointed in myself because I need to read Anne of Green Gables. I have been wanting to read this book for years. I've just never done it, and I'm so upset with myself because of that fact. Because it seems like the perfect book for spring. I won't sit here and talk too long about it because I know I've talked about it a lot on my channel already. But like, please, somebody hold me accountable. Yell at me, scream at me, do something to get me to read this book because I need to read this book. And then finally, I do have 2 books from the one and only Alice Oseman. I only have 2 of her like actual full-length novels left, and again, I really want to read these as well. These strike me as really good late spring, early summer reads, like May. They're giving me May vibes right now. So I really want to read Loveless. Originally I was going to read this in February, but then I ran out of time. And then I also really want to read I Was Born for This. And I believe this one kind of covers fandom culture, which I'm really excited about because I've been a part of many a fandom in my day. Okay, so I think this one's gonna be really interesting to read as well. And I just love Alice Oseman's work. Like, for the most part, I've enjoyed every single one of their books. So I'm so excited to get to these 2 and see what I think of them and just, you know, finish out all of their books. So that concludes my list of all of the books that I'm hoping to read in spring. As I've said many a time, I'm so excited about all of these. I think the one that I'm the most excited about, though, might be A Fragile Enchantment. I'm just so intrigued to see what I'm going to think of that one because I think it has the most potential out of all of these to be a book that I absolutely love. So that is everything that I have for you today. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. As I said, I really enjoy filming seasonal TBRs, so we'll see if I actually get to these. If you did enjoy, I would love to know down below what are some of the books that you are hoping to pick up this spring, or maybe if you guys have any spring book recommendations for me, I would love to hear them. Also, before we go, I did want to thank everybody over on my Patreon. Love you guys so much. If you guys are ever looking for more content from me, I do always have that linked down below. And with that, I'm actually going to let you go this time. So I will see you all in my next video.